Today we are talking all things melee weapon mods. Now we've got a lot of info to cover and no time to waste, so let's get to it. 7 Days to Die offers a wide variety of melee weapons that the player can choose from. And like most other aspects of the game, these melee weapons come with a wide assortment of modifications that the player can install to make their melee weapon even better. However, it can be a little confusing as to which modifications go with which weapons and exactly what those modifications do. So today we are going to go over each of the melee weapon mods available in 7 Days to Die, what weapons they can be installed in, and exactly what they do. Now I've broken these mods down into several different categories, and we're going to start with what I call the universal modifications for melee weapons. Now before we dive into the individual mods themselves, there is one important factor that we must go over, and that is how many mod slots are actually available. Well, that fact depends on the quality of the weapon that you are trying to modify. So you'll notice over here I have a variety of different melee weapons ranking from quality 1 all the way up to quality 6, and those quality ratings are going to be key to determining how many mod slots your weapon has available. So if we look at our quality 1 steel spear here and we go to the modification tab, you'll notice that this weapon has 1 modifier slot available. Now all weapons come with 1 cosmetic slot, so the quality of the weapon does not determine cosmetic slots, as every single piece of equipment in this game has 1 cosmetic slot. The only thing that changes is the amount of modifier slots. So for a quality 1 item, you get 1 modifier slot available. And if we look at our quality 2 weapon, you'll notice that it also has 1 modifier slot available. Moving on to quality 3 weapons, you'll notice that it now has 2 empty modifier slots available. And the same holds true for quality 4. Quality 5 weapons have 3 empty modifier slots available, and quality 6 has 4 empty modifier slots available. So just to break that down, quality 1 and 2 have 1 empty mod slot, quality 3 and 4 have 2 mod slots, quality 5 has 3 mod slots, and quality 6 has 4 mod slots. Now this is very important information to have. This will determine how many mods you can actually put on your weapon. So keep that in mind when you are deciding on which mods you want to use for your weapon. Now let's take a look at what I call the universal modifiers. These are modifications that can be placed on any melee weapon. The first set of universal modifiers are the dyes, and these aren't technically modifiers, they're actually cosmetic modifications. And again, every single melee weapon has its own cosmetic slot. So you've got your standard set of 8 dyes. You have red, you have green, black, brown, pink, purple, blue, and yellow. And all these simply do is change the color of your melee weapon. They don't add any offensive or defensive capabilities. They're merely there for cosmetic sake. But now let's take a look at some of the proper modifications for melee weapons. Starting with the Hunter mod. This mod gives you plus 100% damage to living beings. It can be installed into any melee weapon in the game. Now that 100% extra damage works on animals, and it also works on other players. It does not work on zombies, however. So installing that mod will give you double damage against living beings. Next up, we have the Rad Remover mod. This mod disables the regenerative ability of radiated zombies for 90 seconds. So if you install this on your melee weapon, smack the zombie upside the head, that radiated zombie will no longer be able to regenerate health for 90 seconds. Very, very useful mod, especially at later points in the game. Now, one thing I did need to point out, the Rad Remover mod and the Hunter mod cannot both be installed on the same weapon. You have to choose one or the other. You can't install a Hunter mod and a Rad Remover on the same weapon. So for instance, I've got my steel club here. Let's say I go ahead and put in my Rad Remover. Now, if I try to install the Hunter mod, you're going to hear that noise telling you, no, can't install it on the same weapon that the Rad Remover mod is already installed on. So keep that in mind. Your Rad Remover and your Hunter mod cannot be placed on the exact same weapon. It's one or the other. Next up, we have the Weighted Head mod. This modification adds a chance to stun and slow victims. Now, currently in the latest stable version, Alpha 19.2, these can 1 be installed on knives and machetes. In the latest experimental version, however, that has been fixed, so you can no longer put the weighted head mod on bladed weapons. But for now, you can put it on pretty much every single melee weapon. And next up, we have the Burning Shaft mod. This mod pretty much turns your melee weapon into a torch that allows you to light up the area, and also gives you the added bonus of being able to set zombie jerks on fire. The next set of melee weapon mods are the grip mods. The first mod in this section is the Structural Brace mod. This modification lowers degradation of your melee weapon by 25%. Next up, we have the Ergonomic Grip mod. This decreases melee stamina usage by 10%. And the last grip mod is the Fortifying Grip mod. When your health is below 50%, you gain 1 hit point every 5 seconds. Now, it is important to keep in mind that you can only have one of these 3 modifications on your weapon at the same time. So, if you have the Ergonomic Grip installed, you cannot install the Fortifying Grip or the Structural Brace. You can only have one of these 3 on your weapon at a time. And the next set of modifications are what I call the tool modifiers. While these mods are designed specifically for tools in 7 Days to Die, they can also be installed on melee weapons. And these are the Gravedigger mod, the Bunker Buster mod, the Iron Breaker mod, and the Wood Splitter mod. Now, the extra bonuses that you get from these modifications are not very relevant to a melee weapon. However, anytime you add a modification to your weapon, you automatically get a damage boost. So let me show you here. We've got our Quality 6 Steel Club, and I'm going to go ahead and install each of these mods one at a time. You'll notice our melee damage is 39 and our power attack damage is 65. Let's go ahead and throw on the Gravedigger mod. You'll notice that our melee damage is now 41 and our power attack damage is now 68. So let's throw on a second mod. Now we're up to 44 and 70. Let's throw on mod number 3. We're up to 47 and 73. And if we put on mod number 4, you'll notice we are up to 49 and 76. So while the mods themselves, the extra bonuses that you get from the mods, aren't really the most beneficial things available, they will give you that extra damage to your melee weapon. My general rule of thumb with these is if you have nothing else available, throw it on there just to get that extra damage boost. It's better to have mods on your weapon than to not have mods on your weapon. So again, if you have nothing else available, the tool mods can make a very good addition to your melee weapon. Now we're going to take a look at some modifications that are very, very specific. These mods can only go into certain melee weapons. They are not universal whatsoever. And we're going to start with the club only modifications. These 3 mods here can only be placed in clubs. Starting with the Barbed Wire mod. This modification gives you a 20% chance to cause bleeding damage or 40% with power attacks. Next up, we have the Metal Spikes mod. Each successive hit lowers enemies' armor rating by 20%. And last but not least, we have the Metal Chain mod. This gives you a 10% chance to knock down opponents. Again, it is important to keep in mind that you can only have one of these 3 modifications on your club at the same time. Kind of similar to the grip mods, these 3 club only mods, you can only use one on each weapon. So again, if we take a look at our steel club, if we install the Metal Chain mod, it will not let us install the Metal Spikes mod or the Barbed Wire mod. You can only have one of these 3 mods on your weapon at any time. Now let's take a look at the bladed weapon mods. Starting with the Tempered Blade mod. This modification increases block damage by 10% and lowers weapon degradation by 15%. Next up, we have the Serrated Blade mod. This gives you a 10% chance to cause a bleeding wound on a regular attack. And the last bladed weapon mod is the Diamond Blade Tip Mod. This modification lowers weapon degradation by 40%. The Diamond Blade Tip Mod is also very unique. Generally speaking, you can only have one blade mod on your weapon at the same time. So if I have my serrated blade mod on here, I cannot add my tempered blade mod at the same time. However, you can install the Diamond Blade Tip Mod. So this Diamond Blade Tip Mod can be installed right alongside a second bladed weapon mod. However, you do have to choose between the serrated blade mod and the tempered blade mod. You can't have both of those on the same weapon, but you can throw on the Diamond Blade Tip Mod, no problem. And the last melee weapon mod we need to take a look at is the Stun Baton Repulsor mod. This modification can only be installed in the Stun Baton. It can be used in no other melee weapon. And what it does is sends the zombie jerks flying on the charged hit. Now, when Alpha 19 first came out, this mod actually did nothing. It was pretty much worthless. However, in Alpha 19.2, I am happy to report that the Stun Baton Repulsor mod is actually working as advertised. Once you get your Stun Baton charged up, you have this mod installed, and you smack a zombie jerk in the face, it will ragdoll and go flying. It's actually pretty funny to watch. Now, let's take a quick look at crafting these melee weapon mods. Now, I'm not going to go into each of the individual recipes. You can look that up yourself, but I did want to touch on some of the specialty mods and how to unlock crafting. Most of the melee weapon mods, the only way to craft them is to find the schematic. However, there are some melee weapon mods that have very specific unlock options. For instance, in order to craft the Stun Baton Repulsor mod, you have to find Tech Junkie Volume 5. That's the only way to unlock the option to craft this mod. The same holds true for the Diamond Blade Tip mod. This can only be unlocked after finding Art of Mining Volume 2. And the same holds true for the Metal Chain mod. This modification can only be crafted once you have read Batter Up Volume 7. The rest of these modifications can be crafted once you find the mod schematic. Now, I will point out, for me personally, I rarely craft melee weapon modifications. Generally speaking, the easiest way to get these mods is by looting and questing. You will very frequently get these items as quest rewards from the traders, or in loot containers all over the POIs. But if there is a modification that you have your eye on and that you really want to install into your weapon, you can find the schematic or book required to unlock crafting of that specific mod. But however you get your hands on these modifications, they certainly will make your melee weapon even better. The customization factor of 7 Days to Die is absolutely awesome. Not only does this game offer you a whole bunch of melee weapons to choose from, but it also offers you a whole bunch of modifications for each one of those melee weapons. So as you're out and about questing and looting and slaying a whole bunch of zombie jerks, be on the lookout for these melee weapon modifications. I hope you folks have found this video helpful and or enjoyable. If you did and you'd like to see more, I've created a very special playlist of equipment tutorials that you can access by clicking the box in the top right corner of the screen. But for now, this is Saven saying thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining me in Saven's World. And remember, the average gamer is always king of the hill on the bell curve.